Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Michael Fanning. This is Warm Up 349. I was listening to a great podcast this morning with Impact Theory. And this morning, Tom was interviewing a psychologist. Her name is Nicole LePera. She has a book out called How to Do the Hard Work, and I highly recommend it. I'll put a link to the podcast in here, but scroll down through the podcast notes and go look at her Instagram page. And I would highly recommend reading your book. So the reason why this was so interesting to me is because one for myself, right? And a lot of the stuff I tell you guys is not for anybody else, but for me, to help me be a better me. But one of the things when I do coaching, sometimes I notice that people struggle with change, struggle with changing a habit. And it was really interesting how she talked about this, and she talks about the biology of our brain. So think about this for a second. Think about the biology of your brain. Your brain is like a caloric monster. It consumes the most calories of any organ in your body. And the other thing too to remember is neurons that fire together, wire together. And that creates, if you think about a road, right, or a path. And so you go back, and I know we've often said this, the past is not predictive of our future. It's not predictive of our future if we are consciously aware, we have emotional intelligence, and we're looking at ourselves introspectively with our conscious mind in the moment, in the present, and saying, why am I doing this, right? Why am I doing this? Because here's why all this is important. Have you ever gotten in your vehicle and you have told yourself you're going somewhere, and then you kind of go into that unconscious state, so you're not thinking about anything, so you're on autopilot, and all of a sudden you end up at home. You're like, oh my gosh, I was supposed to go to the grocery store. Well, neurons that fire together, wire together, that is a really, really easy path for your brain to remember. And so when you go into that non-conscious state, what happens is your brain just falls back on that road. It just falls back on that road. And if we want to get off that road, because here's the challenge, right? Your brain gets back on that road because it requires less calories, because it's easier to stay on a well-known road than it is to go off the road. As soon as we go off the road, our brain has to do work. We have to become conscious, and we have to make a decision, right? And so the challenge is this: if there's things from your past that have built these roads and you're not being conscious in the moment, and we see this happen all the time. I'll be in a coaching call and say, hey, how come you didn't do that this week? Oh, I don't know. I talked myself out of it. What happened was your brain just went back to that non-conscious state and said, well, this is the road we know. Let's get back on the road we know. So my point is this: if there's something right now that's happening in your life, that's a habit that you're not enjoying, that's not benefiting you, and you're finding it struggle to get off that road and get onto a new road and create a new path, this book, this information that she talks about will help you. It absolutely will help you. And here's the thing: all of us have those roads that we don't want. All of us have those roads we want to get rid of. And most of those roads, guess what? They were formed from our childhood. They were formed from our past. And they're just easy roads for our brain to stay on because we're not going to be conscious. So what do we have to do in the moment right now when that starts happening is to be conscious of what it is you're doing, and then give yourself a rule. Give yourself a rule that says, I'm going to get off this road. And how am I going to do it? These things. The other one is this: if you have a lot of those habits and you decide you're going to get rid of all those habits in 1 month, it's not going to happen. You are going to get overwhelmed. Let's figure out one. Let's figure out one of them. And let's do it. You know, for example, take a small thing. Let's say that I'm working with somebody and they need to be making phone calls. They go, oh, I just don't like to make phone calls. Well, there's something causing that fear. Let's figure out what it is. Let's be conscious in the moment. Next one: you're not going to go make 10 phone calls a day. But I guess what? You could make 2 a day. You could do 2 of those a day and figure out how to make that happen. And then you could add another one and do 3, and then do 4, and then do 5. And just do that. Don't try to change another habit. But so many times what we want to do is we want to change everything now because we have this instant gratification mindset. So will you please, please, please listen to the podcast? I'll put a link to it. Go down to the show notes and read those, and then get her book, right? And again, her book is called How to Do the Hard Work. Really interesting book. All right, everybody. Hey, make it a great day. Be awesome and help somebody. Talk to you later.